Let's talk about trigger warnings. They're kind of ridiculous, I think, but we have more and more of them now. We know about them on Shakespeare and things like that. Macbeth, this play may feature death. Really? Oh dear, you know, and so on and so forth. Ludicrous trigger warnings on all sorts of stage productions. Only today we learned of a musical version of the Full Monty. You know the Full Monty, where the guys, all, you know, for charity, all strip off. You know, so the whole point of the film, and now a musical, is that it leads up to the ultimate scene, which is the guys strip off, the Full Monty. Anyway, there's a new musical version of the Full Monty. I think it starts in Portsmouth. It's coming with a trigger warning. Warning, may features nudity. Huh? Well, yeah. Why does it need a warning? It's pathetic, isn't it? It infantilises us, I think. But where this is happening the worst is in the arena of television, particularly classic television, TV favourites of the past. More and more channels are dealing in this kind of entertainment, nostalgia channels. So people love to watch, I don't know, Only Fools and Horses, Terry and June, Are You Being Served? You know, all of those comedies. Anyway, all of them are getting trigger warnings. I mean, why would it Only Fools and Horses? Why would you need to be warned about this? So basically the campaigners and many of these companies that are putting on nostalgic television programs are saying that the rules imposed on them by Ofcom, that's the sort of broadcasting watchdog, are getting so suffocating, so oppressive, that they're completely neutering the programs they're trying to entertain their audience with. You know, so they're being changed out of all recognition. So let's talk to a TV presenter on the Rewind channel, Alex Dyke. Welcome, Alex.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you very much for having us on.
A pleasure. Well, tell us about your channel first. Do you show these classic old comedies, classic old dramas?
Yeah, we do. Most of, probably 90% of our output is classic television. And just because we're a channel, Kevin, that's on Freeview and Sky and Freely, people assume that TV channels are massive. They're big corporations. This channel is owned by 2 people, and there's only 4 of us on the whole channel. So buying television programs from us, we have to think very carefully about what our viewers want and what we can afford. And if you are fed up with non-stop repeats of Only Fools and Horses on a loop, we've got some of the more interesting classic British comedy that you may have forgotten about. However, these shifting sands of what is offensive and then what is not offensive is impossible for people like us, because you have to keep putting these trigger warnings out, as you say, or maybe editing bits out of the program. And we feel very strongly about airbrushing history. We don't want to put anything out that's offensive. Anything we don't want to be broadcasting the N-word. It's too poisonous. We don't want to be putting hatred on TV. But what we don't want is Dame Thora Heard having to be edited in the situation comedy In Loving Memory from the 1970s.
I remember that. I mean, I'm so old I can remember that. You mean that gets a trigger warning?
That'll get a trigger warning, but also we might have to get the scissors out and snip the tape on that. Also, we're showing Please Sir with John Alderton. I'm sure you remember that ITV.
I do.
And one of the biggies for us is Carry On Laughing. Now, we all know
which was like a television version of the Carry On movies.
Yeah, with all of the, you know, Sid James and all of the gang in it, Barbara Windsor. Now, we all know that it's saucy, seaside postcard, sexy, bawdy humour. It's just
an end of the pier nonsense, not to be taken seriously. And, of course, Carry On now has sort of basically been culturally cancelled, hasn't it? As if it was some terrible crime of the past, just because, you know, it was a bit kind of, I don't know, shall we say, it's, kind of full of stereotypes and archetypes and all that kind of stuff. You know, girls with big breasts, guys lusting after them, all that kind of dialogue, that kind of narrative. That's no longer allowed by the new Puritans, right?
Well, we can show it, but of course we have to look at it first and edit it. And these small channels like Rewind TV, we can only afford to buy certain programs. We don't have millions in the bank to get the big blockbuster movies. And we're very proud of the work that we do. And we see ourselves, Kevin, as saving British comedy, and by showing programs that people wouldn't see. Now, back when we were young, we had those water cooler moments where if Monty Python was on BBC Two or BBC One, we'd all be talking about the next day at school because most of us would have watched it. Well, these days, television and radio is so fragmented, I just can't see the problem in just letting this stuff just sit. Let's not airbrush history.
Well, why, Alex? I mean, it seems to me that the authorities, and by the way, I should stress, Ofcom say they are not censors, that they just offer guidance. And of course, if you broadcast the wrong stuff, you can end up in trouble. And there is some stuff from the past. I mean, I'm a bit of an absolutist about, I think, leave everything alone, let people, let grown sentient adults make up their own minds about what they're watching. I don't need to be infantilized by some childlike warning. You might find some of the content offensive. You know, I just think it's pathetic. However, you know, I can accept that there are certain words and certain lines of humour that worked, shall we say, back in the 60s and the 70s. That wouldn't work now. Times have changed. But that said, I think that channels like yours and the various other similar channels that do this kind of thing, I mean, you've got Talking Pictures TV, haven't you? Rewind TV, your one, and quite a few more. I think you should be able to show exactly what you want, and then we grown-ups, when we watch it, we can make up our own mind. And we're not so stupid that we don't understand that times have kind of changed. That's half the reason I mean, why on earth would you need a trigger warning on Terry and June?
I know, it's crazy. And if you do watch these programs and they are slightly out of kilter with the times we live in, that's a good guide of how things have changed and how far we've come. But for the channels you've just mentioned, if we put our foot in it, and we would never want to do that and never want to offend people, and you know, Kevin, you're on air, you don't know what's going to offend some people and what's not going to offend others, but it's very easy to offend someone. We can't afford these colossal fines that Channel 4 or ITV could pay off, because we're a very small, perfectly formed, as I said, television channel.
Yeah, and so if you did, I mean, I'm not going to go through them for obvious reasons, but Ofcom offer guidance on lots of words, you know, so they've got like kind of various classifications of moderate, serious, mild, and so on and so forth. But if you break those, they're not quite rules, they're guidance. If you broadcast, shall we say, I know you wouldn't do it, but say you broadcast the N-word, would you get like a massive fine for that?
Well, potentially you could. And, you know, that word is in, is it the 633 Squadron or the Dam Busters?
The Dam Busters. It was the name of Kenneth Moore's dog, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I guess a lot of people in the industry would know that and they would avoid it, but it's very easy to get caught out. Now, we probably wouldn't pitch to buy Love Thy Neighbour or Mind Your Language, because you know that even though the joke is on the white man, I can see why people think that's inappropriate now, and so can the gang at Rewind TV. So we wouldn't pitch for that, but you could easily get caught out in, say you buy 24 episodes of Please Sir. and you watch them, you could easily miss something that someone could complain about. But the other thing, Kevin, is who are these people complaining? Sometimes you kind of get done, or you get hauled over the coals. I've been in that situation when I've been on the radio. I got hauled over the coals by the BBC, even when we had no complaints. So, and I think the people at Ofcom are worried. They're worried that they may okay something or not act on it, and then they may lose their job if there are some complaints. So where does the buck stop?
But as I say, I mean, in a free country, it seems to me that people ought to be able to make their own artistic choices. And as I say, sentient adults are well aware that times have changed since the 60s or the 70s or the 80s even. And we should be allowed to deal with that in an adult fashion, as opposed to being treated like children, you know, with silly little warnings. Some of the material you might see you may find offensive and that kind of thing. And of course it sort of descends into a kind of absurdity, doesn't it, when you learn that Terry and June has now got a trigger warning. Only Fools and Horses have got a trigger warning. Are You Being Served has got a trigger warning. Dad's Army, for God's sake, now gets trigger warnings. These are shows that used to get 20 million viewers. They were enormous hits, and now they are treated as if they're almost forbidden material.
Absolutely, it's crazy. Even Wurzel Gummidge has had a warning about the potential violence in it. I mean, it's a kids' program about a scarecrow.
About a scarecrow, yeah.
And what's made it more confusing, Kevin, is there are some programs, the BBC have taken them off iPlayer, then they've put them back on, then they've taken them off, then they've re-edited them. And a good example of this is Fawlty Towers. John Cleese, Connie Booth wrote that brilliant situation comedy. Yeah. And you may remember the episode about the Germans.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a famous one. And also the Major had a rather derogatory term for cricketers of colour, which we won't go into. So, yeah, there were some references that clearly date that. But, I mean, the German episode, I can't see what's offensive about that.
Well, the BBC have taken it off of iPlayer, the Germans. But getting back to the Major, and don't worry, I'm not going to go anywhere near saying, but the joke was on, so it was what, 1975, an old major who hadn't moved with the times and was out of step and used a word he shouldn't have used back then. The joke was on the major. Now, should that actually be banned from television forever? I don't think so. I don't like the word. I would never use it, even though it's used in just about every other rap song that your kids are listening to. But that's another argument, but it shouldn't be airbrushed from history.
I totally agree. I think we should be allowed to watch what the hell we like, make up our own decisions. It's a free country and we're sentient adults. Alex, are you in negotiations with Ofcom? Are you trying to sort of escape from this ludicrous straitjacket? Because the implication is, or some people involved in your industry have said, that such are the suffocating nature of some of this guidance that you have to edit programs so much that they lose all their character, that people who used to love them back in the 70s or 80s wouldn't even recognise them.
Well, the people that watch channels like Rewind TV, they love their classic television, so we don't talk over the theme at the end. We think the whole programme brings back great memories for people, usually when they were younger and they were growing up. So we don't want to touch these programmes unless it's absolutely necessary. So we, not me, because I'm a presenter, I'm not management, but the management are asking Ofcom to treat classic television like you would a classic car. No MOT, no tax. We know it's of its time. Let us put it up and teach people and take them on the journey with us, rather than live in this ridiculous... It's all right for you. You work on a station that's the home of common sense. So you get this, Kevin, but I don't want to live in a nanny state. I feel a bit embarrassed if I would have to make that announcement. Like, look, you might find... No one's going to really find it, but we better say it just to cover us. That makes us as bad as everybody else, I think.
I'll tell you, it's interesting what you said about like people kind of connecting with their childhood when they were younger. You're talking about Please Sir. I haven't thought about Please Sir for about 3 decades. John Alderton, wasn't it? And the school was Fen Street, and it had like Sharon and Eric and all those. So, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I'm suddenly remembering all this. And that's why I think what channels like you do, it's quite, you do important work, I think. And people love to be connected to their past. Nostalgia is a wonderful form of entertainment. And I don't think you should be straitjacketed.
Well, that's very kind of you to say so, and thank you very much for your support at Talk. I'm a big fan of this channel. Watch it all the time, listen to it in the car when I can't watch it, and I'd like to thank you very much for giving us the oxygen of publicity to just let people know that this is happening. And tonight, when you get in from work, if you want to just relax, go and, if you don't mind me saying,
there we go. Get a bit of advertising now. Go on then. Go on.
Go to Freeview.
Go ahead.
92.
Yeah.
Or Sky 182.
Yeah.
Or Freely 150. And you catch up with your youth.
And if I could just add, don't watch Reform Youth Rewind TV until 10 p.m. when this show is over. No, but seriously. Yeah, I mean, what you are basically, Alex, here is yet another victim of pervasive wokery, the madness of wokery, and I think it's yet another arena in which we must fight to get rid of the shackles of this ludicrous culture, this ludicrous syndrome. Really good to talk to you, Alex. Keep in touch. We'll talk about this again, I'm sure. Alex Dyke there, a presenter at Rewind TV, one of these nostalgia channels. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Let me know what you think. I mean, the older viewers among you will know, or will remember, please. We'll remember Terry and June gets a trigger warning. Only Fools and Horses. Come on, it's absurd, isn't it? It's wokery gone mad. We need to get rid of wokery altogether, if you ask me.